Once you have broken your content standard down into specific learning objectives and gotten really clear on the things students need to know and be able to do, you're ready to move on to stage two, which is developing assessment evidence. Remember, the goal of your assessment evidence is to allow you and students to measure how well they are progressing toward the learning outcomes you've identified in stage one. These assessments are opportunities for you and students to check and see how well students are performing on those content standards. You'll need to look back at your list of learning objectives, those things students will know and be able to do. That will guide the development of your assessments. You need to develop assessments that will measure each of those objectives. So in your stage two assessment evidence, you need at least one assessment per learning objectives. So if you broke your content standard down into 5 specific learning objectives, you'll need at least 5 assessment opportunities because you'll want to assess each of those learning objectives. So those learning objectives were all the pieces of the puzzle for your content standard. So now you need to measure each of those pieces of the puzzle. We're going to look separately at these two columns in stage two. First, we're going to look at this performance task column. In stage two, you're going to be developing two different types of assessments. The first is a performance assessment. A performance assessment is an authentic task students will complete to demonstrate the desired results, to demonstrate these big understandings, and to demonstrate the things they should know and be able to do. You're going to develop a performance assessment opportunity for students. A performance task is not a quiz or a test. A performance task is an authentic, or in other words, a real world opportunity for students to apply their learning. Now remember, keep in mind that although we're planning this in a backwards design process by developing our assessments before developing the learning plan, this performance task typically would not take place until near the end of your unit. If you were to teach this unit, you would be teaching these learning activities and students would have participated in several lessons and learning experiences before they're ready to do this performance task. So remember, we're approaching this in a backwards design process. We're planning the assessments first before planning the learning plan. And remember, you actually won't be creating the learning plan for this course, but in the future, if you were to use this assessment plan, you would develop stage 3 last, but then you would teach those activities and lead those experiences before asking students to perform this task. This performance task will ultimately be a culminating experience in your unit. Students will have to have a lot of instruction from you first and participate in a lot of learning experiences before they're ready to perform on this authentic task. Now, I have some places you can go to see great examples of performance tasks. This video from Edutopia is one of my favorite performance task examples. You can go to edutopia.org and search for this performance task. It's called Applying Math Skills to a Real World Problem. And what you'll see here is a video of high school students completing a performance task in a geometry class. What students are asked to do in this performance task is to design a school for the future. Students have to design a school. They have to use a lot of math to do their design work. And once they do the design, the blueprint, and then actually create a model of their school, they have a panel of architects, of real-world architects who come to judge these students' project presentations. So that is a great example of a performance task because it's a real-world experience. It's a complex way for students to apply the objectives they've been working on, and they have a real audience for their work. Instead of just turning this assignment into their teachers or just getting a grade, they're sharing their work with a real audience, those architects who came to see their work. There's another great place you can go to see examples of performance tasks. It's called the Performance Assessment Resource Bank. And the website is performanceassessmentresourcebank.org. You can see that here. On the Performance Assessment Resource Bank, if you click here under Performance Tasks, it says there are K-12 performance tasks in math, English language arts, science, and history, social studies. So if you click on Browse, you'll be able to see examples of performance tasks. Here, you can sort them by subject, or you can sort them by grade level, a specific content course, or a specific grade level. So let's say I'm looking at the elementary level. Maybe I'll choose, because I'm looking for this third grade language arts standard, so I might look at these grade levels, and then I can browse through these examples of performance tasks here. These are all sample performance tasks for these grade levels I've identified here. I did not identify a subject area, but now I will identify English language arts to narrow it down. So then it's going to narrow down these choices. Now, I'm not looking for a performance task that I can just plug into my assessment plan. I'm going to ask you to develop your own performance task opportunity. But this might be a place you can go to get some examples of what it might look like. Now, when you click here, you'll notice, now it will make you, to view an example in detail, you will have to sign up for an account. It's free to do that, but they are going to ask you to create an account if you want to see the specifics and be able to download the resources. But once I do that, I'll be able to get some more specific information, and I can actually download the resources here so that I can explore them on my own. Again, you're not going to be uploading those as your examples, but that might be a good starting place for you in just exploring what do performance assessments at my grade level or in my content area, what do they look like? So you'll see some examples. Again, these should be complex. These should be things that would typically be a culminating assessment at the end of a unit, and they should be real world, give students a real world context for applying skills. As you complete this stage 2 piece, this performance task piece, I'm not looking for pages and pages describing your performance task. Just a paragraph really, or a few bullet points will be enough. I just want to know what would your performance task be. Just give enough detail that I can tell where you're going with this. What is the task that you would ask students to complete? And give me some details either in like a paragraph or a few bullet points. Again, using those resources as examples.